So we all know that LinkedIn is a professional platform, but what I really like to anchor people in, and where sometimes folks get a little lost, is that although it is a professional platform and it's a great way to connect with companies, ultimately it is a platform for people. Your peers, people that you want to meet, are all looking for authentic, genuine connections with people that are in similar fields, people that they can learn from, or people that they can help. So we definitely want to talk about how we can be our professional self, but also with a lens of how can we be authentic in a way that helps us make connections. So I like to encourage people to break away from how you use other platforms like Instagram, Facebook. Each has their own place, and LinkedIn definitely is special and can help you build a lot. So what can you do on LinkedIn? You can showcase expertise, you can share your thought leadership, your POV as a professional, and how you've grown and how you hope to grow. You can nurture existing relationships, and you can build a network beyond your immediate. And that's where we find a lot of people struggle, is specifically, on that fourth point. Easy to connect with people that you used to work with. It's a little more intimidating if you want to reach out to a recruiter, maybe the CEO of a company you hope to get hired at, or even a past person asking them if they want to recommend or give you a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile. So we are going to talk through that today, and these are really the things that you should anchor yourself in. I always say it's good to have a goal for what you're doing on LinkedIn. So one of these really should be your goal, and usually it really is rooted in a person-to-person experience of I want to connect with somebody, and I want to get a value out of that connection. Well, I always like to say that LinkedIn does work a little bit differently. So it's important to put out content. So content can be anything from posting about a recent promotion, job, a change in your life, a certificate you completed, a fundraiser you were at, events that you go to. Sharing content, though, has to really connect not just with what you're saying, but with the people around you, because LinkedIn only promotes content that does well. What I mean by this is when you go into Instagram, you're going to see the latest post somebody has put out. So regardless of if that post is good or not, you're going to see it. Whereas LinkedIn isn't an everyday platform for people. So LinkedIn knows that maybe you'll only sign in once a week, maybe once a month. And for that time when you're on LinkedIn, it is going to amalgamate all of the content that's been shared since you were last on, and it is going to rank it for what is most impactful to you. What have people commented on, engaged with? What are people finding useful? LinkedIn wants to draw you in once you do come on their platform. So when you're posting, you really need to be posting in a way that engages people so that your content rises to the top of that algorithm. So ways that you can do this and ways that you can break through are making sure that you have a great profile. And why this matters is because the algorithm also uses search engine optimization to rank your profile and understand if the content you're putting out is relevant to other people. So I'll give an example of this. For me, I speak a lot about small businesses, how executives can build professional profiles. All of these things are referenced not only in the posts that I put out, but also in my profile. That way the algorithm has a clear path to understanding what the value I bring to their users is. So it's really important that that goal you are using LinkedIn for is represented not only in the content that you put out, but also in your profile and how you build it. So here I have an example of two headers, and I always say the header is like a business card. It is like your Tinder profile for professionals. It is the thing that people are either going to swipe right or keep on going on. So you really want to pop, and you want to stand out, and you want to give a clear description of why somebody would want to click and learn more about you. So here are two examples of top cards. One is Christine prior to us doing a makeover on it, and then the second, you can see in the second, we've added a banner with bright colors that draw you in. We've gone from using just a very descriptive who I am to a call to action, really. Join me to inspire, influence, and innovate. Embrace the journey without losing your sparkle. So this gives somebody a bit of information. We're putting some of our keywords into that, and then also will allow people to want to go a little bit further. So what we always like to say for a tagline is think about my goal is, I'm most proud of, I'm passionate about, I have a specific amount of years of experience in something, and my next big ambition is. Using this, again, is a way to have conversations. I know that there are a lot of LinkedIn specialists out there that are like, just jam as many keywords into that top line as you can. And that does work for the algorithm, but it doesn't serve the secondary purpose, which is ultimately a person has to read your profile and is going to decide whether they want to connect with you. So we're gonna give you this exercise as a quick way to figure out how to get that tagline, because a lot of times people get very stuck on this. So we're going to send this out after, but write 40 words about yourself and what you hope to accomplish, and then cut that in half and have 20 words, and then cut that down again to 10 words, and then narrow it down to 5 words, and you probably now also have a hashtag. So what you're going to find is somewhere between that 20 and 5 word mark is your new tagline, and it really will describe very well what you hope to do on LinkedIn and why people should connect with you.
Another good little tactic too is to go on LinkedIn and look at some profiles that maybe you admire or aspire to be like, and take a look at their taglines, see maybe how they've started theirs. And then you can come back to this exercise as well. So everything's a remix and you don't have to recreate the wheel. So there's lots of ways to get this statement down, and this tool will really help you narrow down to the most important keynotes.
Absolutely. And another place where you can put a hashtag is in your About Me. I always say limit it to one or two hashtags. You don't want your profile being overrun with lots and lots, but 3 would be a good limit of how many hashtags you want to use. But in your About Me, a lot of folks write a very succinct message about this is who I am, this is my experience. A lot of times you take a corporate bio that you've had kicking around for a while. And what I would encourage you to do is use your full 2,000 words. 2,000 words allows you to really dive into your experience and again, what you're hoping to do and accomplish on LinkedIn. So if you're only using, 100 or a short portion of it, then you are leaving a lot of search on the table. So it can be a little bit overwhelming if you just, write a whole biography about yourself. So some professional emojis like the little diamonds or the arrows, a good check mark, allows you to create bullets or also division within your description, allowing you to tell a little bit about yourself and then go a little bit deeper. And then another thing that folks sometimes do is you don't have a proper URL. So if you're looking at your profile and there are a bunch of numbers and letters at the end, what you want to do is you want to go to Edit Public Profile and URL in your settings and make sure that you have a professional URL. So if your full name is taken, I suggest a middle initial or a full middle name. It just is a way to make sure that your profile looks very professional and is easily searchable. Awesome. So we're going to send around our link and we're going to keep going. And we're going to talk a little bit about posting, and then we're going to talk about how to make those connections. So we're going to move through this next section a little bit quick. I'm going to ask that you hold your questions until the end of this next section, and then we can do some quick conversations around what is and isn't. These are our ways that you can stand out and also avoid embarrassing yourself on LinkedIn. So what I always recommend is get into the habit of posting once a week. This encourages the AI, especially if you're looking for work, posting about what you're looking for, what you're doing to further that search, showing that you're busy. People like to hire people that are busy. So even if it's a networking event like this, taking a screenshot like we're going to do at the end of this call and sharing that on your LinkedIn saying, this was great, what I learned, what I hope to apply this to, those types of genuine posts about what you're doing are great. So post once a week. If you're not sure what to post about, I always say courses, events, people that have helped you, things that you've learned, things that you hope to accomplish, as well as these do's and don'ts. So
one thing there too, only about 1% of LinkedIn users post content. So it's a great way to stand out and be competitive. So that's a great little tip for that once a week posting.
Yeah, so the way the AI works is it's going to filter out all posts. We talked about how LinkedIn only promotes posts that are helpful. So how to make sure that your posts reach the top are, you don't want to be spamming. That would be sending out too many posts that are basically the same. You want to engage in the comments. So making sure that you're tagging people in your post and then thanking them right away and asking them questions and starting a conversation. When I post, I always make sure that I have a buddy like Christine or a sister or friend, partner who can start that conversation, get that first comment out, asking people and being intentional about how you get that going can really help your post take off. Then really it's going to be weighted for who in your network is seeing it, the topic relevancy, and whether people are liking and engaging with it. So how we can make that happen is show your face. Your face is your asset, especially if you're looking for work. Having a face really puts you apart. So photos of you working at your desk, out in public, at events, things that are professional. Just if you have a headshot, just using that headshot with your posts really helps with the visual storytelling. And posts that do well, posts that have faces in them, for me personally, will always do like 10 times better than when I just post something with text. And then we talked about posting regularly. Resharing something with a thought is also a good way of getting those interactions in. What I always like to say is avoid controversial topics and political conversations unless it's your job. When you are talking about things that are difficult, there's lots going on in the world. You don't need to put your head in the sand and act like an ostrich. But when you are talking about these things, make sure that there's a clear call to action and there's a clear connection to your professional journey. So what I mean about this is if it is your job to talk about politics, then, posting about a poll that you specifically worked on or that you had something to do with is okay. Going and being like, I don't like this person or this really makes me annoyed, that's a great thing for Facebook. So finding and making sure that you're posting about the right things. Really, I always say, politics, religion, war, some of the more challenging things that we can't solve on LinkedIn are good topics to avoid, and posting about things like community issues, things that are impacting people if you're working with them. So for example, Christine and I both volunteer at food banks. So I was talking about food insecurity. There's a clear call to action to something that we're actively doing in our community. Out. You don't need to share photos of you on vacation. You don't need to post about you in the Maldives, and you certainly don't need to share about how your dating life is going. So, this should go without saying, but unfortunately it doesn't. Keep it professional. Would you talk about this at a water cooler with somebody you've met on the very first day of their job? Is a good litmus test if you're not sure to post about it. Sharing personal stories is great if it's in the context of your professional journey. So Christine and I post all the time. I told that story about how I cold called her. There's a professional and personal connection to that. After you leave a role, a question we get asked a lot is, should I talk openly about this? The answer is yes, if it doesn't affect your ongoing negotiations or the terms of your agreement on which you left. So talking about, what you learned in that role, what you accomplished, the people that you met, always focus on the people. And talking about what you want to accomplish in your next piece of your journey are great ways to talk about personal. Talking about, a child graduating or a big milestone moment like that is really nice. So it's not about being cold. It's about sharing personal moments that are appropriate for the office. And honestly, nobody likes a wet blanket. So don't be, especially if you're looking for a job, there's a fine line between having a POV and, playing the devil's advocate so that you can spark a bit of conversation. And then there's also being a troll and trying to, get a negative reaction out of people. So you don't need to go around, pretending like everything is rosy and that you agree with everyone. It doesn't have to just be like, I agree, I agree, I agree. You can challenge people's perspectives, but do so in a respectful way and have a POV and lead with the experience that you have so that people understand why you're giving this opinion. So if you work in the healthcare space and you're giving your opinion on something in healthcare, saying, as a leader in the healthcare space for 25 years, I've seen A, B, and C, and that's why I have the opinion that, contradicts what you're posting about, gives a bit of leverage on why you're saying that, using language like, I appreciate you posting about a topic that you're passionate about, I respectfully disagree for blah, and then where you can find common ground is a good way, again, to spark conversations that aren't dull and it's not about, being neutral, you don't need to be beige, but it's just about finding the right amount of that sass or that right amount of being assertive without crossing the line. So, we did find a lot of great research done. Forbes recently posted about how, especially on LinkedIn, almost 70% of negative social media comments are ignored by people. So it's not even an effective way to get your point across. It just, it's like screaming into the wind. So For sure. And I am going to move on to thank you, Christine, and I'm going to move on to our last section, which is how to actually network and connect with people. So we're going to go through this and talk to you about our 4 C's. So first, you want to connect with people. It's important to send connections, send LinkedIn connections. Depending on the type of profile you have, you can send between 15 and 250 connection requests. So I tell people that you should be connecting with at least 5 people on LinkedIn every week. So find people that you used to work with that have similar interests to you, things like that. Comment, go out and be active in other people's LinkedIn. So if you're afraid of actually posting for yourself, going out and commenting and engaging with other people's content, especially people that you want to meet and network with and influence. So CEOs at companies you want to get hired at, VPs that you feel you might one day be interviewed by. These are great. Starting conversations and chatting with people, just reaching out to celebrate moments that they've had and striking up a conversation is invaluable, and we will talk more about that. And also, I always say, ask somebody for a coffee, virtual coffee, in-person coffee. Set up an opportunity to have a 15-minute chat with people so that you can build those connections. So we're gonna go through these, and you're gonna get a copy of this so that you'll have both an example of it and a way to work with ChatGPT to create connection requests for you. Here's an example. I like to use little bullets in mine, but I always say, what's your name? Give them a little bit of a compliment. People like a compliment. And then talk about specifically why, you have shared interests and what you hope to accomplish from connecting with them. So this is an example of cold outreach to somebody, talking about the fact that I like that they support social impact projects. And then, they were able to then be silly and say, I will enjoy the connection and learn from each other. So it's just a way to get things started. So I always say, send those 5 connection requests a week. Very important. What's out is don't send people a lot of spam. You don't just want to send people generic requests. What's in is you want to make it personal and make sure that it feels tailored to them. So second is commenting. Like we said, you want to go into people's posts and comment and give them encouragement. Have a POV and engage. If you're not sure what to post, you can use ChatGPT to get you started, give you some ideas. But again, similar to before, a little bit of a compliment, making it specific to them, talk about your related experience. And I always say ending with a question means that you're more likely to actually start a conversation. So what's out is don't just copy and paste and put the same comment in everyone's, they will see that and it is inauthentic. Make it personable and make it connect. So, a way to actually spark a conversation and keep things going. So, first connect and then comment on something that they've put out there as a way to, get that conversation going. Then I always like to say, send a chat. If you're connecting with somebody, especially somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while, or maybe they're a new connection, a recruiter, for example, sending that first message of hi, I'd like to congratulate you. I'd like to start talking to you. Again, like being specific about what their experience is that is interesting to you, and then asking them for their POV or to expand on a POV will allow a conversation to develop more naturally. So a good example of this for a recruiter, instead of just going and saying, hey, I want this job, saying, hey, I know that you recruit in this field. I'm looking for executive positions in A, B, and C. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, if there are things, etc. This will allow a more natural conversation and will feel less like somebody is getting spammed. You don't want to be the car salesman, boom, boom, hire me. You want to be the person that's sliding in and saying, hey, I'm a peer of yours. Let's connect and actually build our networks together. So lastly, and what is most intimidating, is ask for a virtual coffee. Honestly, LinkedIn is great. Post all you want, have a great profile. At the end of the day, if you're not actually meeting people, then you're not really getting where you need to be. So once you've chatted a little bit, just throw out a date, throw out what you want to chat about. And I say ask for 15, 20 minutes. That's such a small ask. This way you're not being like, hey, can we sit on a call for 45 minutes? Like asking for 15 minutes is very low stakes. I honestly set up at least 4 or 5 of these a week now that I've gotten started. Having a repeatable message that, again, you're going to see a little bit of a theme here, that you aren't spamming and that you're making it personal, will allow you to generate not only conversations with people, but will help you turn that conversation into a tangible outcome for your job search, for your career development, or for any of the of the reasons that people are coming onto LinkedIn. So we have a couple minutes at the end. I'm happy to stay a couple extra minutes and answer questions people might have. But I'd love to open up the floor, and I know connecting can be intimidating. So please ask questions about how you can, build out that network.
I think that might bring us to the end unless somebody else is gonna pop in. I think we're just past the hour as well. I'm sure some people have some meetings to jump to.
For sure. So I just want to end by saying, please connect with us at Design Ace. We're here to help you shine bright and be your best authentic self on LinkedIn. We will send around our link to connect for a free 15-minute LinkedIn audit. And we will be taking, we would love for people to engage with us and let us know how we can help them in their journey.